What's going on, guys? It's fight season MMA, and today I want to make my official predictions for UFC 306 this weekend, highlight all the main card, or the three fights, the featured bout, the co-main event, and the main event for UFC 306 in the Las Vegas Sphere. Is Sean O'Malley going to remain on his crazy win streak and beat Merab Dvalishvili, one of his hardest tests yet? Is Valentina Shevchenko going to overcome Alexa Grasso, or is Alexa going to stay the champion? And is Diego Lopez going to absorb all the hype that he's been around and that everyone believes that he could be the next future champion by beating Brian Ortega in that featured bout? If you guys enjoyed the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help support the channel. And while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications just so you guys are always updated with the most recent UFC content that releases from my channel daily. But with no further ado, let's get right into my UFC 306 predictions. Okay, so the first fight I want to talk about is Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. And Diego Lopez is the biggest up-and-comer, I feel like, in the UFC right now. He is on a trailblaze up to that top spot in the featherweight division. He last fought at UFC 303 on 2 weeks' notice, scheduled previously against Brian Ortega. During the weight cut, Brian Ortega had a fever, couldn't make weight. That fight was changed to 150 pounds. Diego Lopez accepted. Brian Ortega still couldn't fight because he wasn't feeling great. Fight was canceled off, and 2 hours prior to that fight occurring, Diego Lopez was scheduled to fight Dan Ige, who lives in Las Vegas, in one of the crazy co-main events I have ever seen, of that card getting saved and whatnot. And that was all due to Conor McGregor pulling out. But Diego Lopez got a lot of respect from that fight because he's the definition of someone who will fight anytime, anywhere, any place. And now he actually gets his fight with Brian Ortega yet again. Now probably on a bigger stage at UFC 306 at the Las Vegas Sphere. This card isn't really that deep, but this fight between Ortega and Lopez is going to be an amazing one. Brian Ortega is a veteran of the sport. We all know that he beat Yair Rodriguez in his last one at UFC Mexico in Mexico City in a very impressive fight, in my opinion, of Brian Ortega winning. He kind of took 2 years off after that Yair Rodriguez loss, and he came back to fight Yair, which he ended up getting the victory. So fighting Diego Lopez, I feel like, actually is a bigger step up in competition for someone like Ortega than fighting someone like Yair again. But who do I think is going to win this fight? And I think Diego Lopez is going to prevail against Brian Ortega. Diego Lopez is so skilled. He's such a good striker, which is so super entertaining for me to watch. He's got so much power behind his punch. He's got that patented uppercut that he knocked out Sadiq Youssef with. He's a great fighter. And Dan Ige probably was a really stylistically hard matchup for him. And Diego Lopez, without a training camp, went in there and defeated Dan Ige in a very impressive showing, in my opinion. And I only think it's going to be expedited with someone like Brian Ortega. I think the grappling exchanges from these two are going to be absolutely incredible. Brian Ortega is an amazing jiu-jitsu artist, and I think Diego Lopez is as well. So the ground jiu-jitsu exchanges between these two individuals is going to be impeccable to see. And truly, I think that this fight is going to be won on the feet. And I think Diego Lopez is a better striker. He's going to be able to adjust inside the UFC octagon. And I think Diego Lopez is going to go in there and show the world why he should be the #1 contender at featherweight and possibly get a title shot right after Alexander Volkanovski or Max Holloway fighting Ilia Topuria at UFC 308. Official prediction for this fight is I have Diego Lopez beating Brian Ortega by second round knockout. The next fight I want to highlight in this breakdown of UFC 305 is the co-main event, that being Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso 3. The first fight was at UFC 285, where Alexa Grasso ended up getting the rear naked choke finish over Valentina to capture the title. The next fight at the rematch was at UFC Noche last year, I think on September 14th, I believe, where there was the main event there, and it was an incredibly close fight that ended up in a tie, which should have gone to Valentina Shevchenko, but one of the refs gave Alexa Grasso the 10-8 in round 5. But how do I feel like that this is going to go now? And more likely than not, I see Alexa Grasso winning this fight. I just think the younger Alexa Grasso is going to do so much more than Valentina. Now, I think prime be prime, I think Valentina Shevchenko is the better fighter. I think she's more well-rounded. I think she's got a lot more in her scheme of a lot of different things that she can be able to do. But I think right now, considering that Valentina is a little bit older, she's had a crazy title reign inside the UFC. Alexa Grasso is a younger champion. She's fighting on a Mexican Independence Day card. I feel like just all of the things batting up are going to be in favor of Alexa Grasso. Now, not saying that Valentina Shevchenko can't win, because this is a fight that I do not want to bet on whatsoever, but I'm going to have Alexa Grasso by 5-round decision, beating Valentina Shevchenko in a very, very, very razor close fight that I do favor Alexa Grasso in, but not by very much. I do like Valentina Shevchenko. She's probably my favorite female fighter, but considering she's getting up there in age, she's had a lot of different wars inside the UFC octagon, she could be slowing down in this fight. I think last time she did win that fight, but I do think that in this one against Alexa Grasso, I think Grasso will take it and ultimately retain her title at UFC Noche. Lastly, for the main event, we have Sugar Sean O'Malley taking on Merab Dvalishvili. Merab is a very, very, very heavy grappler and has a cardio gas tank of an absolute mean machine. That gets his nickname, Merab the Machine Dvalishvili. And Sean O'Malley, as we know, is an incredible counter striker, an amazing sniper on the feet, defeating Merab Dvalishvili's long teammate and the greatest bantamweight of all time, Aljamain Sterling, at UFC 292. And how do I think that this fight is going to play out? I think Merab Dvalishvili, if he's going to win in this fight, he's going to have to go in there and wrestle O'Malley early. Now, do I think he's going to be able to take down O'Malley? I hope it is, because if he won't, Merab is going to have the longest night in the office in UFC history. If Merab cannot take Sean O'Malley down, there is no single way that Merab Dvalishvili can win this fight. He has to take Sean O'Malley down. He's not a better striker on him. There's no way on the feet that he can beat Sean O'Malley. And Sean O'Malley is actually a pretty good jiu-jitsu fighter as well. So my official prediction, though, is Sean O'Malley by second round knockout, just like Aljamain Sterling. I think Merab Dvalishvili is going to overextend on something. I think the first round could possibly be very boring, but I think that Merab is going to understand that he has to get to the ground, and I think Sean O'Malley is going to possibly catch him with a knee, a counter strike. Merab's going to overextend, and I think Sean is going to knock the lights out of Merab, a lot worse than Aljo. I think Aljo is a very smart fighter. I think Merab is a really, really, really whimsical and really just overextends himself and really reckless inside the UFC octagon, and I think Sean O'Malley is just too good of a fighter to really be able to do that against. And I think Sean O'Malley's defense, his wrestling defense, is actually stupendous, and it's some of the best wrestling defense in the UFC, I have to say. And ever since that, he's been able to defend the takedowns from Aljamain Sterling. Chito Vera really isn't a takedown artist at all, but he's had a lot of different fights where he's had to use his takedown defense. Also, Peter Yan was another fight. So I think Merab Dvalishvili, if he has to win, he's gonna have to go in there and take Sean O'Malley down. And I am just going to make an early prediction saying that's not going to happen. I think Sean's going to catch him pretty quickly. And I think Sean O'Malley is going to retain the bantamweight title and probably fight either at UFC 310 in December, which he wants to headline against Umar Nurmagomedov, or fight early next year, possibly in January or February of 2025. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comments section, what you believe is going to go down with Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili, the co-main event of Valentina Shevchenko taking on Alexa Grasso for their third match between one another, and the rematch rescheduled between Diego Lopez taking on Brian Ortega in a massive jump up in the rankings. I think the top heaviness of this card is going to be amazing. I'm not a massive fan of how I should say scarce the talent is on this card, and I understand it's a lot of Mexican talent. I'm a big Raul Rosas Jr. fan. Daniel Zulhelber is a good fighter, but other than that, there isn't really that much interest for me in this card besides these top three fights. I think Ortega versus Lopez is an amazing bout. I think Grasso versus Shevchenko is some of the most competitive women's matches in the last 10 years inside the UFC, and I think that Sean O'Malley is going to put on an absolute clinic over Merab Dvalishvili. If you guys enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help support the channel. We are so close to reaching 1,000 subscribers, so if you guys could go down there and absolutely annihilate the subscribe button, that would mean so very much in helping the channel reach 1,000 subscribers. And if you guys don't want to do it even for me, do it because I release daily MMA content to keep you guys in the loop with the most recent MMA news in media. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.